CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. All right, this guy right here, it's Greg Perry. We've been hanging out, Fort Worth, Texas. We are on Friends of Nano right now. SMRP 2025, my first SMRP. Greg, thanks for hanging out with me the last couple of days and kind of talking shop and all that. Welcome to CMMS Radio. Welcome to Friends of Nano.
Absolutely, man. This is great being here. This is an awesome conference, dude. And appreciate Friends of Nano and appreciate CMMS Radio. Definitely. Yeah.
We want to give a couple shout outs right quick. One, Reliability X, bringing my rig. They get top billing. Nano Precise, Kevin Clark, the team, Ashney, they made that beautiful backdrop right there behind you and put the little Corvette CMMS radio guy. Man, I love that thing, and I don't even know how I came up with it, but you and I have talked a few times in the past and a lot while we're at conference about a lot of different things, and CMMS is kind of a world I come from, and I love the space. Obviously, you do too. And some of the concepts that you were kind of imparting on me, we're going to get into a little bit today. First thing I want to ask you, though, is SMRP. You've been to a lot of them. You've been in this industry. You're still in this industry doing great stuff. What's your favorite thing about SMRP as a conference? And have you heard or seen or learned anything new at this one? And if not, what's kind of the same that's really important for people to know?
Well, you know, one of my favorite takeaways with SMRP is it is a family reunion, if you think about it in a way. It's like a mini family reunion where all of us practitioners that are out there within maintenance, reliability, asset management. But I just love hearing from subject matter experts and then comparing that against the community of practice, peer review, if you will. You know, like, what's your take on that? How do you feel about what you just heard? Did you get any nuggets from that? You want to expound on it? And this is the great environment to go in there and do that, because Society of Maintenance Reliability Professionals, you know, is for practitioners and by practitioners. And so this is our annual meeting of practitionership within maintenance reliability to come together. And some ideas are great, some ideas are half-baked, some ideas are basically just that, an idea. You're right. And we all have our definition of best practice, right? You know, best practices basically come from our dogma of experiences, if we think about it. So we're here to learn about best practices. We're here to bring them back to our organizations and to see how we can intertwine and make that part of our continuous improvement journey. That's what I love about the conference. Yeah, I've been coming for many years, and I always learn something new. Always something new.
Yeah, we get a lot of chatter. I mean, you can hear the conversations going now, even though we got the headsets on and we're talking. I can hear people behind me. I can see people off behind you. People are walking by, and I have to focus so I don't look at them walking by, and I stay focused on you. But this is special for me because, you know, first one, I heard it was bigger than usual. Maybe it's because Texas, I don't know. Maybe because they had to cancel last year, which was a smart move based on the inclement weather, keep everybody safe. Do you think when it comes to new people coming in to the space, you know, this is a conference that they can come to and go to really solid workshops, have really great conversations that are not necessarily focused around like selling, but more about what you said, like trading those conversations. So you and other practitioners might be talking, but then there's other people coming up. You get to kind of build the future. Is that another aspect of this thing that you kind of see happening at this one? Because I see a lot of people I've connected with online, or people that I've met in person or meeting for the first time that are like, you know, pros. They're really out here doing it. But I see a lot of people that are a little bit younger, and maybe they're from those plant floors and kind of coming up in the industry.
Yeah, that's what's well said. That's exactly what's happening. I know I was pretty amazed by the people that I've been meeting while I'm here. That's one of the basic questions I'll ask. Is this your first time? And I'm very surprised to hear majority of the answers of who I've been approaching and talking to. Yeah, this is their first time. So that's good. That's a good indication. That's great. We're not just long in the tooth of old practitioners coming together and having a family reunion and talking the same old talk. No, we got some fresh blood here, man. We got some fresh, enthusiastic, young-minded individuals that are coming in and truly interested in maintenance reliability and asset management. And that's exciting to see.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Now, we're going to turn the corner a little bit. So, Friends of Nano is this, I like to call it the nanosphere, where you're kind of in there. And big shout out to eMaint for stepping up and being one of the sponsors of what I'm able to do here, but doing it with Nano Precise. That's pretty cool. But I want to talk about CMMS, because you and I, for a while, before we even got to conference, were talking about some of the things we want to get into here. One of them is multi-site CMMS, because we've got a lot of different solutions around here, 10, 12, maybe 14 different solutions that are similar, EAM, CMMS, APM, whatever it might be. And not all the solutions out there handle multi-site very well, nor do people understand the challenges involved in deploying multi-site. And then the other subject I want to get into with you after that is the 10 keys you've tried to impart on me a little here and there. I want to get into those. But on multi-site CMMS, what are some of the challenges and approaches to overcoming those? Because I think we're going to hear something about the standardization.
Absolutely, that's the key word, standardization. So it's interesting to me, doing what I do with CMMS implementations. Been doing this for about 25 plus years in the industry, and the common tale is more common than I care to admit, but I'm usually asked, why don't you just set us up in the image of XYZ down the road? We're similar industry, and I know that they run your software. Why don't you just set us up in their image and we'll be successful? And the first pushback from me is, nope, I'm not going to do that, because I don't know if your culture can support it. And they look back and go, what? Yeah, I don't think your culture can support the best practices that ABC Corporation down the road is deploying, and how they set up their CMMS. And mind you, how they set their CMMS up and their CMMS data and everything else is intellectual property. So that's a tool they use, right, to do managing of assets and asset management. And that's a tool that they use on their maintenance reliability journey. And your culture might not support it. As a matter of fact, it may be very detrimental. In other words, you're going to be finding yourself pushing rope uphill, not downhill, okay, as a result of it. And they go, okay, fair enough. All right, so basically we need to do what? Well, my answer to them is you need to align people and process with technology. Okay, that's their first starting point. That's where you need to focus on first. And that's just single site, mind you. So let's talk about multi-site, where it is the ABC Corporation and they've got 7 plants across the United States. All right. And have they standardized their people and processes then? Because plant A is doing things that's different than plant B, then C, then D, then E, and all the way down. Well, what are we doing that's actually standardized? There's the word. What are we doing that's constructive to the point that we can build a foundation on? All right. And well, guess what? It's the same thing. It's kind of weird. I'll get plant A is got a different operational context than plant B and a different than C. And I'm like, yeah, but in the world of maintenance, how is it different? In the world of asset management, how is it different? In the world of best practices when it comes to work execution, really, how is it different? You know, are you just trying to find an excuse to not standardize? You know, but yet at the same time, you want to come into one platform, one architecture.
You're talking about that resistance to the
Yeah,
change.
exactly. And so the first thing you got to understand when you're coming into a multi-site software architecture is that word, architecture. And I think we need to standardize based off of that, you know. Well, we're kind of somewhat we're taking technology and helping to influence people and process, which is really what's going to happen. Your business process going into CMMS adoption is not going to stay the same. You're going to have to change some of your business process to adopt to the CMMS architecture and platform that you're going to be bringing in. There is some degree of that, okay? And vice versa. The CMMS and the technology that you're bringing is going to have to adopt to your P&P, okay? But have you standardized it? All these sites are all going to be using the same platform architecture. And they would ask, well, give me an example of that. Okay, I'll give you a simple one. Let's just pick one field. Let's just pick one field in CMMS, and let's pick work order type. Are you telling me that of your 7 sites, y'all have got 7 ways a Sunday of describing the same work?
We don't like that.
They'd start scratching the head and go, well, I guess you got a point there. Yeah, so standardize your maintenance codes. That's where you can start. How do you define work order types, work order groups, work order classes, work order priorities, asset statuses? Standardize how you use department coding and how do you document GL codes and account codes and this, that, and the other and all that. Let's standardize it from a data governance purview.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So there's some things that you need to do up front that I call, deployment readiness, right? There's the strategy side of everything, and then there's the tactical side, right? So let's focus on standardizing on the strat, and then let's focus on standardizing on the tactical. Okay, and you still have room to wiggle for Plan A does a few things different than Plan B. That's great because Plan A has the culture that can support that and Plan B doesn't. Is there a goal to bring Plan B up to Plan A cultural standards? Well, absolutely. In the long run, that's kind of where we want to go. All right. So we're going to use the CMMS as a trim tab towards that continuous improvement, towards that change. It's now going to be a change agent, right? But it can't be a change agent until you standardize the lexicon, the language, how it's going to work, how it's going to feel, how it's going to be used. That makes people stop and think, well, wait a minute, we really need to go in here and be as common as we can across the platform, using the architecture of the software to our advantage, not disadvantage. Okay, because if you don't do any of this pre-planning, then all you're going to be doing for the rest of this couple of years afterwards is trying to course correct and try to clean up and try to make it more user friendly. And then you're going to make sure that your first ROI, which is user adoption, is going to be a failure. So standardization, once again, helps with that user adoption. It helps with that first ROI. Everybody's on the same sheet. Everybody is playing by the same playbook. Everybody is singing the same song. All right. And so let's go ahead and look at how you do Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D, all the other plans. And let's go in and bring a business analyst in. Do you have one that's internal to you, or do you need to go outside and do a third party? But you really should invest in being deployment ready first before you just go and deploy.
Yeah, that's
where the 10 keys come in.
Yeah, that's and that's where a lot of you see it online, you hear it at this conference. A common thing is software that becomes shelfware. People have kind of tuned out. You miss out on that momentum. I think of it as I'm always telling folks, You do these projects, you select the software, you move forward with that particular vendor, everybody's excited, and then you don't have a real plan or a strategy around that plan. And that's the hard part, because human beings get distracted by what's happening right now. Their hair's on fire. They're stuck in a reactive environment. Part of that lack of standardization makes that reactive environment more prevalent than we want it, and that's disruptive. So can you break down rather quickly the 10 keys, and then what I'll do is later on I'll have you send it to me when I get back and edit this down so we can put it in the episode for folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the 10 keys is something I've learned as a consultant over all these years, and to me it's the secret sauce to a method of change. It's the secret sauce that a lot of professionals out there that do the same type of work that I do, they follow. They might not publish it, right? Because it's kind of their intellectual internal property of this is how I do things, I don't really just want to share it. But yeah, but as you read all these wonderful books written on the subject of CMMS and from all these wonderful subject matter experts and authors that are out there that we all learn from, they're all following these 10 keys. All right. And so, well, here they are. It's really simple. Key number 1, core team. Who's your core team? Okay. You got to have a core team. You got to have the right butts and the right seats on the bus, right? So make sure you've got your core team selected. These are the ones that are stakeholders, right? And these are the ones that have the tribal knowledge, and also these are the ones that are going to help with this continuous improvement project, because that's exactly what this is. And then after that, it's core team familiarization of the software and the platform and the architecture. Core team needs to invest in making sure that the software platform that they're choosing can support their endeavor, support their journey, support what they're doing. Okay? It's a symbiotic relationship. Has to. The technology supports PMP, and PMP has to support technology. So the core team needs to be familiar with the CMMS platform and its architecture, what it can and more importantly can't do. And then on the flip side of that coin, the core team needs to understand all the use cases that you're going to be using the software platform to manage and solve and mitigate. Okay? They all got to be on the same page here. We all got to know what our burning platforms are and what our desires are and where we're going. What's our vision? What's our mission? We're going in the same direction. All right? We're working together. And so then after that, key step number 3 is going to be all about documentation of as is. In other words, this is where that business analyst comes in, and they can help you document how is your as is environment. What are your procedures? What are your SOPs? What are your process control documents? What do they say? Do you even have these things? Have you even documented your as is, what you do today? All right. And if you have to, go and document as is at plant A, and then again at plant B, and again at plant C, and plant D, and plant E, all the way down. Look for these commonalities. Look for these low-hanging fruits where we can start standardizing and creating one. One is what we're looking for here. Key step number 4 is all about standardization. Well, that's when we start standardizing these PCDs and these SOPs and how we're going to go and do identifying work all the way to work closeout. How we're going to standardize the CMMS basic functionality. Okay. Right. And we're going to also standardize our language and our lexicon. So when we say downtime, this is what we mean. When we say maintenance downtime, this is the definition. When we say operational downtime, this is what we mean. When we say work order prioritization, this is what we mean.
Yeah, we're speaking the same language.
We're all speaking the same language. So we standardize our work order types. When we say work order type is an inspection, well, this is the definition of what we mean by inspection. Versus a PM, preventative maintenance. Next one is going to be key step after that is key step number 5. This is when we're actually going to put together our go live plan, our implementation plan. Okay, that's not key step number 1. It's key step number 5. So we've done the deployment readiness piece. We've done the business analyst piece. We've built our user requirements off of that. This is what we need to have in place. So we have the blueprint now of how we want to configure the system. So now you get into key steps 6 and 7, which is all about the data. Key step number 6 is all about data assimilation, data cleansing, data alignment. All right, where's the data coming from? What's the data need to look like? How does it need to feel like? What does it need to behave
Get rid of the junk.
Get rid of the junk. And then number 7 is configuration of the system. All right, so all of these things have to happen before you just start jumping into that key step 6 and 7. Okay, and then 8 is train the main users. Okay, train, and get their feedback. While you're doing some of this training, get some of the user acceptance training done. Okay, and then get
figure out what they like, what they don't.
Exactly, and make some adjustments. All right, and then you're ready for go live. That's key step number 9. Execute the go live plan that you ideated and documented in key step 5. And then the last and most important key step, in my opinion, is key step 10, and that is audit for success. That's when you're going to go do the plan, do, check, act piece. That's when you're going to go in there and make sure we dotted our I's, crosses our T's, and we don't have bad habits that are coming right out of the gate that we've got to squash and change. And did we meet our goal or in goals, right? Is there anything that we need to circle back to? Okay, but more importantly, what's next? Right? Let's identify what's next for our journey here with the CMMS system.
Right, because at this point, now we've got our tool. Along the way, we've already got the culture. We've got the standardization. Everybody is essentially on the same page, moving in the same direction. So number 10 kind of is an ongoing thing.
Always, it's a journey. It's never the destination. So you're not one and done. And I always tell people you're never, ever fully implemented with a CMMS. Ever.
Right.
Ever.
You're watching it.
You haven't just arrived. No, we're still on the journey. Right? And there's going to be some standards that need to be updated. There's going to be some changes that need to be implemented. There's going to be some introduction of a new area of the software that we've never really utilized before, but now we're going to roll it out. If you follow these 10 keys, you can use it on a macro scale, like a project, all the way down to just putting out a new metric. You can follow the same 10 keys on how we're going to roll out a new metric. And it just it gives you the playbook. It gives you a structure to follow. It is an MOC, method of change. And if we practice it and adopt it, then it just makes it a whole lot easier than just winging it. Right? And, the old throwing the spaghetti on the wall to see if it sticks trick.
So I got to tell you, at this conference, and I've got a lot of I'm lucky to have some real deal pro friends as not only part of what I do, but part of my life that talk about these similar things, and it kind of applies to all the things that we do. And human beings can be quite resistant to these things. And you talk about MOC, method of change, and we get to this idea of discipline. Shout out to Joe Anderson over at Reliability X. We have the discipline, we're just misapplying it a lot of the time to be disciplined about things that aren't very helpful and don't get us anywhere. It's kind of this idea behind being a builder rather than a destroyer, and that's going to be on a different episode. But man, Greg Perry, this has been awesome. I think this is really helpful to anybody that hears it, and I'm hoping that if they want to, they can reach out to you, whether they just want to chop it up some and learn from you, or maybe get to know what's going on with eMaint. That's a possible solution for them. Shout out to eMaint for supporting this awesome production we're doing here at SMRP 2025 called Friends of Nano, being in the nanosphere. That's nano precise. Brother, thank you for being here with me.
Absolutely. So I just want to leave two things with our listeners out there. Okay, just understand the CMMS tells two stories. All right. And if you always remember these two stories that the CMMS is telling, then you need to make sure that the CMMS can have the full ability to do it. Number one is it tells the story of the asset, right? It tells the story of the asset. You should be able to look into CMMS and see from cradle to grave the story of the asset. But more importantly, it tells the story of your maintenance organization and your operational excellence and all of that stuff that's there. So all these best practices that we're learning here at SMRP, go back and see how can we enrich our CMMS so that it's telling a better story when it comes to our maintenance reliability journey. So again, standardization, you might find, yeah, we got to do that because we want to sell and we want to tell just one story. Not multiples gets confusing in one platform.
Good stuff,
under
brother.
One architecture. So that's it.
Yeah. I love it, man. We're going to do this again at SMRP 2026. I heard it's in Raleigh, North Carolina, so a little closer to home for you.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. Looking forward to that one, too.
Thanks, Greg.
Appreciate it, Greg.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.